Hi there, Mark here again. Welcome to this build guide of my lovely new Wild One off-roader rear wheel drive buggy. This is the re-release. Let's get straight on with it. So what you'll need to do straight away is open parts bag A. We'll be using these parts for steps 1 to 12. Step 1 is just charging the battery, so straight on to step 2, which is the front axles. The first thing I've done is put these tiny little BA16 ball connectors onto the arms in the outside of the two holes. Done that on both of them. You need these parts E7 and E8, the plastic parts, which are the front suspension units, and we're going to fit these uprights in here like so. We need this BA9. It's a 3x20 shaft. It says put a bit of grease on that and put it in place, so we'll just do that now. So once you've got that pin in place, so there's no access bar sticking out either end, you need to get your BA15, which is a little grub screw, and then screw it into the end of the axle, and that will hold that pin in place. And while I'm nipping that up, just to mention that with these ball connectors, you only need to nip these up very lightly. They will spin round inside that nylon, so yeah, don't go crazy on that. It's as simple as that, guys. Do the same for the other side. So when you finish step 2, the two parts should look like so. Okay, so straight into step 3, which is attaching the front suspension. As always, if you're not sure about the parts, match them up on the left here, so you know you've got the right ones. Just put them over the diagram and make sure they're the right sizes, the right parts. So we need a 15mm screw and two 3x12 self tappers. You've got parts E9, E10. Just copy the layouts of the diagram. You've got your front bumper, and then this red part, which is your G1. So what we need to do is fit this all together onto the axle. This is your FRP, or your fiberglass reinforced plastic. Looks a bit like carbon fibre, but I don't think it is. But anyway, that goes over like so. Then you need your red spacer. We're going to screw that into this bar. Don't think it matters which way around it goes. Then we need to get these parts. This is E9. Make sure it's the right way around with the 3 holes pointing upwards. And then we need the self tapper in there. And the same, but opposite for the other side. And the finished part should look like this. So step 4 is we're going to fit this now onto the chassis, onto the tub. We're going to fit the uprights, which are these two lovely aluminium pieces here, satin finished aluminium damper stays it says they are. You're going to need 9 of the 3x12s self tappers, and you're going to need these 2 lock nut flange nuts that have got the nylock in the end, so make sure you get those. I think what I'll do first is I'll fit this part on. Okay, so that's fitted on now. As you can see, they just mount into those slots in the tub and those 4 screws there. Now I'm going to put the stays on. Make sure they're sided left and right. So again, goes into this position with 2 screws. So that's the right one fitted. I'll just get on and put the other side on. So that's both the damper stays fitted, nice and securely. All you got to do now is put some grease onto these pivot points on the metal bar, and then make sure you get your left and right suspension arms the right way around, basically the ball pointing upwards, and just fit those on each side. And then simply fix that on with the lock nuts. So there's the suspension arms fitted, and just to finish this part off, part 4 or step 4, there's that one more screw that's got to go in that last hole that's in that plate. Now steps 5, 6 and 7 are making up the front shocks. I've already done the one side, as you can see. It's a gorgeous bit of retro kit this is. Works beautifully, really nice and smooth. So we'll just show you how to do the other one. All these parts you'll find in parts bag A, all the bits that you need, apart from this part here, which goes on last. I'll show that in a bit. It goes on with the spring. Anyway, what we need to do first is to get those pesky E-clips onto this nice stainless steel piston rod. So you just need a pair of pliers just to nip this into place. I hope it doesn't go flying across the cabin. Okay, so just clip the first one on. Then you need the piston, which is the nylon piece with the holes in it. 3 tiny little holes in that. Put your other circlip on the top. Okay, once you've got that bit done, get your shock body. You need to put in the little O-ring first. Tiny little clear O-ring. You can see that. Just pop that in. Just put a little bit of shock oil on that to lubricate it. Then you need BA30, which is the nylon white part, which is the shock guide. Put that in. And then you've got the rod guide, which is this little brass machine part. It goes in like so. And then just lightly screw on the bottom cap. I won't do that up fully. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my finger over the hole at the bottom to stop the oil coming out. I'm going to fill it up first so I can reduce the amount of bubbles that I get. And then place the rod in. There's oil everywhere. And then as the diagram shows here, just place it so the piston is just a few millimetres down from the top, and then just place on the oil seal, which is the rubber cap, BA33. Get rid of any excess oil with the cloth, and simply screw the top cap on and tighten up the bottom cap against the top. Then you need to get your BA26, which is the 5mm ball adjuster it says, and screw that onto the thread as far as it will go. As it says, there is a little note there that says don't over tighten. It doesn't go right to the end of the thread. There's a little bit of thread sticking out, so that's the shock body done. So turning over onto step 7, which is finishing the damper. So you need to get that plastic part that I told you about, your G2, the red plastic, put that over, put your spring on, and then you've got BA28, which is like the bottom cup that holds the spring. Okay, so all we need to do now is to put these bottom parts on and to put the rubber bushing, which is a BA32. We need to squeeze that through the top hole in the shock cap. Can be a bit tricky. Okay, so that's in place. We'll do this one first, which is the right hand side. So if we line this bracket up, and that's going to go in there, we need to put inside the bottom there BA27, which is this small brass tube. Be careful because it falls out quite easily. You need your 15mm screw and secure that on the other side with the 3mm lock nut. So that's the right hand side done, and we're just going to do the same for the left hand side. The only difference with the left hand side being that the screw goes in from the other direction. So step 8 is attaching those dampers. We've also got to fit on the body mount here, so you need that part, BA6, put the washer on that and fit it in that central lug that's sticking up in the body, and make sure you fit it so that the hole goes from left to right so you can get the body pin through. That's what it shows there anyway. And now we can fit the shocks on. So with the screw head pointing to the outside, that's your one you want, though, like so, and then you put your 3x12 in through the bracket into the suspension arm. So for the top, to attach the top to the aluminium stay, you need to put this brass bushing, which is a BA24, from the back through that rubber bush. Get your screw, and you've got this little aluminium 1.5mm spacer with a 3mm hole, and that just goes through the upright with the lock nut on the other side. So there's your suspension working, and obviously do the same for the other side. So that's step 8 finished. Both shocks are mounted. You might notice I've changed those shims for the little blue ones here because this shock was just touching the side of the upright. So just to be sure, I think it's a 2mm spacer. They're both moving nice and freely. So on to step 9. So step 9 is attaching the rear suspension shafts, which are these things, BA11s, solid steel. You need to put some grease on these, and then you've got part E5 and E6. Basically put some grease on there, put it through the hole, and then you've got this plastic part G3 which goes in there and holds the pin in place, and then we're going to fit that onto the chassis into these 4 holes here, like so. On this side, so I'll just get the screws in and show what it looks like. Okay, so that's both sides fixed on. Step 10 is attaching the side guards. So we're going to do this bit first. You've got a G15 and your A12 with a cutout in it, and it's got to go on. There's a lug at the bottom there, and that's got to go on like that, and then the 12mm screws are going to go through the chassis and hold that on. Okay, so there's the 2 screws in. Just do the other side. Then we've got the other BA6 body mount with a washer on. Goes on that lug there at the back. Like so, with the hole going across the chassis that way, so you can put your clip in from the side. And the last part in this step is fitting these 2 parts G10 underneath with a 12mm screw and a washer, and there is a slot to locate that in place. And when you're finished, it should look like this. Step 11 is fixing the 2 parts of the roll cage together. For that we need BA5, which is the aluminium bar, and it's just simply a matter of screwing this in here, I think. And then, as it shows there, rotating this one around the other, so like this. And I don't think I'm going to go any tighter than that. So that was a simple stage. And so straight on to step 12, where we're going to attach that onto the chassis itself. So it says attach BA7 first, which are these small body mounts, the black ones. So we'll do it as it says. No washers required, apparently. And this looks like the holes on these need to be pointing back to front, or front to back. Okay, so they're fitted like that. And then we'll put the cage on, which is going to need two BA 18 3mm flange nuts. So go through those holes in the body there. The front of the rail lines up with these holes at the front, and those line up underneath in these holes here. So I'll just get those nuts in place. So that's the rails fitted on with the two flange nuts, one there and one on the other side. And turning over to the next page, we're on step 13, opening screw bag B. So that seems to be a good point to finish this one. I've got on for long enough. If you're still with me, I really appreciate you watching, and hopefully you'll join me on the next one where we start building the gearbox. Cheers, bye.